I'm going to call the July 18th meeting of the HPC to order. And we welcome all of you who have come to hear us or to tell us your plans. If there are no objections, I would like to move the first item on our agenda to the end of our meeting. Do I hear any objections? No? Okay. All right. Then the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second. Did you second? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All righty. Okay, the first item of new business is the request of Amber and Mitchell Leap to paint their front door at 2210 Rivermont Avenue. Is there a representative here? Okay, Mr. Leap, if you would come, have a seat right there. Tell us once again your name and your address and explain to us what you would like to do.
Sure. My name is Mitchell Leap. We're at 2210 Rivermont Avenue, and we moved in June 22nd. And we'd like to paint the door from white to Cape Verde green. We feel that it will add to the look of the home, but in no way diminish the historic value and character of the home. And there's a number of doors already on the street of similar color. A couple down on the other side, 2141 has a similar color. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? But you're going to keep everything else white?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just the inside door, not the storm door, correct?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No.
You'd like to move approval?
Yeah, I'll make motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Mr. Lee, you're good to go.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. The next item on our agenda is the request of Julie and Louis Kibbe, I hope I'm saying that right, to install copper chimney caps at 14.
I have, just before we start, I have a slight problem hearing, so I brought my neighbor with me to be my ears and translator.
Okay, so you're Mr. Kibbe?
Yes.
Okay. All right, if you would tell us, we know your name and we know where you live, so would you explain to us what you want to do and why?
Okay, we've been living in our home for approximately 12 years now, and one of our major problems was bats and birds and other critters flying down our chimney, and most often is when we get rain coming down the chimney. And we were kind of at odds as to how we were going to solve the problem, but my next door neighbor over here had a contractor, and he brought him in and pretty much found a chimney cap that would solve our problems. Now, we only have one chimney that actually needs to be vented. The other three, we want to completely close off. But we didn't want to do that, have one chimney cap with screens and then have the three different. So we wanted all four of them to be the same. So basically, we're asking for a preventative program to help, our preventative solution to help save the poor chimneys and our sanity, as well as having a way to vent the fourth chimney.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we had some pictures of nearby homes with the same copper.
Yes, it's the same. There are three houses together, as I've drawn on that map. All houses have the same style of chimney cap.
It's up in Diamond Hill.
Yeah.
Any
No.
questions, comments?
I move to approve the COA as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Tippett.
Now, can I sit here
You
with
didn't
him?
need your friend. Okay.
Not disappointed.
You are approved, so,
Okay, thank you.
all right, and you'll hear from Eve, is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, we're good.
I'm the next on the agenda, I believe.
Oh, you're just, okay. All right, you are Russell, is it Let's
Let's go.
Lesko, to install a bronze plaque at 1500 Madison Street, all right?
It's a historical plaque. It goes along with the Diamond Hill Historical Society's plaque program that started in 1991. Right now, there are 29 plaques within the neighborhood. The purpose of the plaques are to describe the architectural features of the homes, as well as any historical points of interest of the house. Mine, I basically got the information from the tour guide that the city made several years ago, that for all the different historical districts, talking about my house. The only thing I did is tweak it a little bit, because they did make one mistake in about somebody's name. They put the wrong initial, middle initial, and then I put a little bit more information about the person's daughter, who published 27 books.
Any comments, questions?
Question. So, I don't know what, I'm looking at this page. Can you tell me more about the mounting or the base, what it's gonna,
If you look at throughout the whole different neighborhood, there's 3 different ways they mount it. Some of them are mounted on fences, some of them are mounted on, say, posts that are attached to the perimeter of the house. And the others are bronze stakes that are on the property, attached to the plaque itself.
so, I hope I'm not offending when my lack of description. This looks like the third option, kind of almost like
That would be the third
a realtor's
option.
sign with kind of 2
That way
stakes.
it'd be nearer to the sidewalk, people can actually read it, instead of attached to the house where people would not be able to read it.
Do I hear a motion?
You said they, up and down the street, in the neighborhood, they are in similar locations?
Similar locations, there's, like you said, there are 29 right now, and the Diamond Hills Historical Society is going to pay for 75% of the cost, as well as order the plaques to make sure that they're the same type of plaque that are used in the neighborhood.
And what's the size? It may have been listed, but I didn't see it.
Look at their, inside their plaque program, they said that the size are 2 different available size, 7 by 10 and 8.5 by 11. What they're recommending is 8.5 by 11.
Inches, not feet.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like these are bigger than that though.
Yeah. It's gonna be small writing if it's that small.
Yeah. Seems, aren't those bigger than that? That example one, because we see them around, I feel like.
Yeah, they're about, that's about right. I don't think they're 8.5 by 11. I think it's a little wider than 8.5.
But it seems like.
Right, yeah, because they've.
I'm just going by what their plaque program is and their bylaws.
Yeah.
I have no issues. I move to approve as submitted.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Lesko.
Thank you all.
Sounds like we'll be hearing from some of your neighbors in the near future.
They're trying to get more in there.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is the request of Benjamin Cowgill to install a privacy fence at 217 Harrison Street.
Ben said he wasn't going to be able to make it. He's out of town, but he would like the commission to proceed if you don't have any questions.
Okay. All right. I thought it was pretty clear. Who's the commissioner for?
That's me. This is Garland,
And okay with zoning?
Mhm.
Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
The-
So is the fence on Third Street? Or is it,
No, he is,
he's in the middle, so he's not on the corner?
No.
Okay. Fence near me, so it looks like it's the one on Third, but.
And he's tapering it down at the house or stopping at the house?
yeah, it looks like it's just gonna be in the rear yard.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading that the other way. Okay, yep. I see nothing that doesn't conform to the guidelines, so I move to accept as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
I'm sorry, before we go there, did he say what he plans to do after it's constructed, like paint, stain, et cetera? I don't think I'm seeing anything regarding that.
I don't think he did.
It might be, let's see.
It does say all treated pine.
It says dog-eared too. Oh, never mind, that's fine. I get that in stockade mixed up every time.
Doesn't specifically say that he wants to paint it.
I don't know that that's, is that required that he delineates?
Stained or painted to blend with the building.
So, yeah, I'm sorry. I think I want to withdraw my motion until I have clarity on what his intent is there.
Or you could make your motion with clarity.
No.
And say should be.
Stained or painted to blend with the building.
Okay, so
Could it be so
Oh,
that
can I make a
it-
conditional motion there?
If you make the motion that it be approved pending Eve's approval of,
You can make a conditional motion.
Great. So I would like to make a conditional motion to approve the application pending appropriate finish of the fence when it's done, that being stained or painted to match the house.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any questions about the motion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The next item on the agenda is an after-the-fact request of Clark Hyatt to install a fence at 808 Rivermont Avenue. Is Clark? Thank you. If you'll come forward. And tell us your name and address and your...
Yes, my name's Clark Hyatt. I live at 808 Rivermont. I constructed a fence using dog ears. I put it at 3 feet, all the way, even though the road slopes, so I tried to carry the slope of the, the sidewalk, to keep it, 3 feet. What I was wanting to do on the side of the house, on the right side, I don't know if there's pictures of it necessarily. I know I didn't take, on the back of the house, the neighbor of ours has a 6-foot, actually it's more like 10-foot privacy fence on the back. And I was going to attach it to the right side and bring it down the right side. I haven't done any more to the house yet, to the fence yet until I got you guys' approval. There's more tweaking to the fence that I wanted to do. We were wanting to paint it white, to keep, mainly, our next door neighbor, they allow their dog to run up and down the road, off leash, and their other animals. And we have a series of rose bushes. We're trying to, make it look better. There's houses being fixed down the street. They're all being gutted. They're all being brought up. We're trying to make it. I don't like trash in front of my house. I don't like that. I'm trying to bring up the value of my home, as well as, bring up the morale of the, coming up, Rivermont. I mean, this is this is 800 block. This is pretty much right at the beginning of coming up Rivermont. And they're trying, it's starting to get better. But I mean, a lot of people throw their glass, throw their trash, throw diapers, throw everything out in the road. Hit my car with it. And their dog comes over. I'm trying to raise award-winning roses is what I'm trying to do. I have a series of rose bushes in my front yard. And but to have an animal come over into my yard and urinate on my bushes, they're killing them. I can see my bushes dying every day. And I found feces in my mulch today. And I'm just trying to, I'm starting on the outside of my home. Next I'm going to go to the roof. I'll get you all's approval on what we can do and what we can't do. We've asked for colors. It's a Victoria house. We're aware of that, so we're trying to find the colors. We threw a color scheme in with the owner that we're buying the home from. I tried to call the committee quite a few times, and I just got voicemails, and nobody ever answered me back. So I put the fence up, and it's to make it look nice. I have all mulch, grass. All mulch yard. I'm really trying to, the house is old. It needs a lot of help. The water issues in it, and just trying to get it, back to really nice. There's a lot of things, that were done to the home that weren't original. They boarded up windows, they boarded up, I want to bring it back. I love restoring old homes. I love it. That's what me and my wife are trying to do. And, we own our own painting business, and I do restoration, so I'm trying my best. And I was trying to follow, what they'd done with the porch when we bought the home. With the, I didn't want to do pickets out front. So I took dog ear. If you guys aren't particularly fond with dog ear, I can change it. I'll take each one down to a point. But the end result is to paint it white. I wanted to give my wife a white picket fence, and that's what I really tried to do. And the whole purpose of it is trying to eliminate neighbors like I have that allow their children to come up on my porch and break my pickets and beat my porch up, and allow their pets to come over and destroy my plants that I'm trying to grow. So where you see it stopped on the right side, it's starting to grow. I won't jump at 8 feet immediately, but by the time it gets to my porch, I want to take it to an 8 foot, or at least gather it from where that is and gather it up. Not necessarily take it up straight up, but I'm going to take it nice and symmetrical up to where it, I don't want my neighbors standing on the porch looking in my home at my wife, while we stand in the foyer.
Is your intent the steps, the column at the steps and the band below it, all that to be white as well?
At the steps, like I said, this is an uncompleted project right now. At the steps, right now, the steps need to be finished, which if you give, I'd like to fix that also. The steps are broken, the concrete steps. So what I was wanting to do there is I was wanting to fix the steps, and I was going to put another post on each side of the step coming up. But then I was going to try to find myself a wrought iron gate that's going to go at the top of the step, instead of wood. And that's what I was trying to do to finish that off, because the steps are all broken out. I gotta fix that, and I know how. And then I was going to put a post at the top of each one, to gather it up, and then I was going to put a wrought iron, gate at the top, if I could. That's what the intention is. The side, I don't want to take it up gaudy. I don't want to just throw an 8 foot and just make it nasty, but I want a little bit of privacy where I feel like,
So there's a few things. One, zoning's not gonna let you go to a 6-foot fence until you reach the front of your house, the corner of your house.
that's where I was gonna start.
The body, not the porch.
Right,
The
right.
body of the house, that's
itself.
where I was gonna start. I was gonna start it right there. I was just gonna carry it the same as it was now, which is 3 foot, you know, and then I was gonna carry it right to the house, and then I was gonna take it up and gather it to theirs.
Okay.
You know, take it to their.
So that's one. Maybe I didn't hear you correctly the first time. Two is if you're putting a wood fence around the perimeter, it needs to be a wood gate wherever it is.
Okay.
Don't mix and match
Okay,
different
okay.
types.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I could do either one. I'd love to put a wood gate in there and make it just look symmetrical and make it look nice.
Yep.
You know, I really would. And then, like I said, the idea is to paint it white, you know,
Right.
stain it white. You know, stain it white. We're gonna put stain on it to make sure, you know, wood don't rot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep going. Those were 2 points that I wanted, I guess,
Yeah.
clarification or to make it
And the fence,
understood.
I did it correctly. You know, I put it, you know, 3 feet at the top. I put it, you know, 2 inch, you know, in between each picket. You know, I put a 2x4 in between each picket, just like I do when I build somebody's deck, to make sure it's, you know, it's, you know, on code. You know, and, you know, I just, you know, I think it brings up the value of the house, because what will end up happening is we'll paint the fence, and then the porch is gonna match the fence, you know, and bring it all in, tie it all in, you know, make it look really nice. But like I said, if you don't like the dog ear look, I
Dog
can
ear's
change it.
appropriate. No, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
You know, I can change it.
Is the width, I'm trying to find the width of the pickets in the guidelines. Does anyone know the width is within the
Yeah, it's in the
guidelines?
guidelines.
Yeah, I've seen it before, but I'm having trouble finding.
It's under
Finding it.
C.
See, okay.
Is it 4 inches?
Okay, wider than 4 inches, there we go. Okay, so that would seem to be what he has within
Yeah,
that.
the boards that
so-
I have there
Yeah.
with 6 foot distance with 4 foot, you know, I mean, 4 inch, you know.
With pickets,
Yeah,
right?
4 inch
Yeah.
by 6 inch, 6
Yeah.
foot is what they were.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think a picket fence in the front looks great. I know across the street, there's quite a few picket
Mhm.
fences, and I certainly can sympathize with what you're dealing with, you know, things, trash and animals
Yeah.
and all that, so it's within the guidelines. I like the picket fence in the front. You're gonna install a gate
Yes,
at the
yes,
sidewalk?
yes, I haven't done any more because I just wanted to make sure I got approval for what I'm doing, and, but I like your idea with the, you know, I can just go ahead and do that.
Well-
That makes it 10 times easier for me to go ahead and install wooden gates.
So, yeah, time out. I didn't say you can go ahead and do that. We would
Oh.
want to see what the style looks like, also
Okay.
what your handrails look like. Or, I mean, we're not here to dictate to
Right.
you. We're here to interpret the guidelines based on what's being
What do
requested.
you mean, the handrails going up the steps?
Correct.
It's I do believe it's it's only 3 steps. So, you know, once I put, you know, what I have there at the bottom, I have 4x6.
Yep.
All right, so I put 4x6 up the top also, and then a wooden gate going across, you know, and then, you know, I put a nice, you know, handrail coming down.
I understand, and I'm not trying to cut you off, but there's so much to interpretation, what
Right.
one person views as acceptable or what one person likes
Right.
versus the guidelines, and we can't just give a blanket, yes, you can put a wooden fence in, because that could come in so many different flavors, right?
What would be the guidelines?
Well, we can share the guidelines with you, they're posted on the internet,
Okay.
but we're here to review what
Right.
applications, so here's my plan, this is what I intend to do, not here to say, do it this way, or you
Right.
can only do this.
Right, okay. I mean, what my plan was to put a wooden gate, you know, across, you know, I mean, when I
What you haven't
started.
told me, is that gonna look like the fence, is it gonna look
Oh,
like
it's gonna look,
something
it's
else?
gonna look,
Is your
no,
handrails
it's gonna look exactly like the fence.
I'd move to approve as submitted with white painted what you have, noting that the zoning requires the 3 foot to stay until you get to the body of the house, and that a future application with materiality and detail of the gate
Okay.
come through
Handrails?
and handrails on a subsequent application
So in other words, I need to reapply to, or put it, do what I'm doing now for the gate and the handrails.
Yep,
that's
exactly.
cool. That's
What
cool.
you've
I
got
can do
is
that.
good to go.
Yeah,
get
I can
painted,
do that.
But
Yeah, I have no
like to
problem with
see
that.
the gate in the future.
Yeah, no problem.
We're just talking about the gate in the front of the property, right? Or the, sorry, fence in the front, right? We're not talking about privacy fence around back or anything like
No,
that.
that's
Okay, just want to
separate.
make sure.
Sounds like he already has
My
one of those
lines
by the
crossed a
neighbor.
little, so.
Yeah, the neighbor put up one all the way around their property, so, I mean, it's, it would, and then it starts coming down mine, so I was just gonna attach to that and just bring it down.
So I don't think that's made clear. We're reviewing what's been done.
Yes.
Because it's after the fact. So
Right.
anything more than what has been done would
Right.
need to be submitted.
Oh,
in a
okay, I
separate
see what you're saying,
application.
so whatever I do next to the side, I need to resubmit that also.
Not resubmit, just submit.
Submit,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine, yeah, I can do that.
So that's
Okay,
my,
because that was part of this application, was it not?
Yeah, it was that,
Did I
it was
miss
to
that?
finish it off the side, yes, it was.
well, that's my motion is that what he submitted here and we're seeing is approved,
Yeah.
but the subsequent need to be submitted with information on the gate.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about the gate or anything like that in my submission, I just added that I wanted a privacy fence up the side also,
Okay.
to finish it off.
Okay, so from the front of the house to the back, just along that line?
Yeah, to connect with the privacy fence.
Okay.
Are you
Oh,
good
sorry,
with
it's a lot of
that?
information.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make this more
Oh,
difficult.
no.
So, sorry, one more question then. Were you attached to your neighbor's fence along the left side?
On the right side.
It says left side.
Well, right
Okay.
side looking at the house, right side looking at the
I'm
house.
just reading the application. Wherever you're attaching it.
Okay.
I think I heard you say that his is 10 feet.
Well,
You can't come into it at 10 feet,
no, I'm
just
not
so we're
going
clear on
to,
that.
I'm not
Okay.
going to, I'm gonna take it what I'm supposed to,
Okay,
and whatever they have coming down the hill and sloping down, I'm just gonna connect what I'm supposed to do.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm
Good
gonna
deal.
do what I do, I don't care about what somebody
right,
else does.
right.
But is that fence that he's going to make, that's not part of this?
Yes, it is.
I did ask
It's
to
a privacy-
continue,
yeah, privacy fence.
yes, I did ask to continue the fence up the side, to prohibit the animals from.
It says attached to privacy fence along the left side facing red.
And be honest, it won't actually be a privacy fence where I'm slamming them right next to each other, because I really don't like the aesthetic of that. I'm still gonna carry that 2-inch block in between each, which is the same thing. It won't allow animals in, it won't be the slammed where, it's just a blanket of wood, that I'm staring at. That's not what, I want it to look nice all the way around.
And it'll be
what I-
painted white.
Yes, and it'll be painted white, yes.
Okay. Should we have the motion restated?
Sure, motion is to approve the fence as submitted, painted white, with the side pieces complying with zoning to be 3 foot until it reaches the body of the house. And future gate and handrails will be submitted in a separate COA.
Is there a second?
That's good. I'll handle it.
Okay, further discussion?
I'm just gonna ask one question.
Okay.
On the privacy fence, is that also gonna be dog-eared, or is that gonna be flat?
It's gonna be the same. Oh, yeah, same.
Okay.
Okay. All those in
Yeah.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll look forward to hearing from you again. Thank you, Mr. Hyde. Okay. The next item is the request of Luke Hummel to replace a window in the vent at 1001 Harrison Street.
Hi there, I'm Nadia Hummel.
Okay.
We think the little guy should do the talking.
Yeah. Can you tell them what we would like to get done about the power vent?
Power bin.
Yeah.
You're
So,
in my house.
in your house, yes, in the crawl space. So we bought this house at the end of July last year. And in the inspection, there was some concern about the chimney. The boiler and the water heater are both vented through the chimney. And because of the age of the house, he was concerned that some of the gases would be coming out because there's no flue in it. And so we went and looked at some things, and it looks like it would be best to put a power vent in so that both can be vented out of the side of the house. And there's a window in the crawl space that they suggested would be the best spot to be able to do the power vent. And so we were just hoping to get approval on that so that we don't have any of those gases coming in to our house potentially.
So it would be the vent that's in the upper right, but through the window pane?
Correct.
Yeah. My house. Well, not for the window pane. Yeah. My yard and food. My door and my house.
Yeah.
And that's, you're on the corner?
Yes.
Yeah. And corner. Yeah. My door.
And so I think that they would have a fireproof board around it and then the power vent itself there. So that I think they would just use up that whole space but have that fireproof board as well.
My door.
Just help me understand, when you say the whole space, the whole window opening? Oh, okay. So they would, the machine, the fan didn't look that big, so they're, put a board flashing something around it, is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah. So since it's already an open space there, it just, and it's close, and it's very close to like where the units are, so it would just be kind of right through there.
No. My.
Visible from Harrison Street?
I don't think that would be visible from Harrison. It's like far back on the house.
No, my house. No. My house. No.
How have you seen that? I'm sure similar applications have been done. Have you seen them tap through the brick or through the window? Or?
Both, through the wall, just like the one that you're seeing up top.
Right.
I've definitely seen it done like that before.
My
I've seen them
window
where they basically take the window sash out,
Dad.
put in, like you say, a fireproof element so that
Wait
it's not
there.
an
My
issue, code issue there and right through the window as well.
Is there a right or wrong? I mean, I'd say what I would prefer aesthetically, but I'm
Yeah.
not, you know, that's not my.
Aesthetically, I'd rather see it come through the wall.
Right.
But obviously, ease of installation coming through the window is going to be a lot easier. And I think if the wood element that fills the sash is painted to match the trim, you know, the window itself, burgundy or
Like a brick color kind
whatever
of.
we want to call that, so that it drops away as a black panel would seem to be appropriate.
So has your contractor said much about how they're finishing it, or is it a paintable board or whatever they're using?
I would assume so. I do not know that information at the moment, but I would assume that it would be paintable.
I think that, go back to the application need, didn't it say?
My house door away.
Fireproof board, so interior board would be painted.
My house back.
So I'd move to approve, noting that the board needs to be painted, the infill board needs to be painted to match the window surround.
I'll second that.
On my
Any questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Good
buddy.
job on the little man.
Right, well done.
Tell Dad you got it passed.
I'll put on that.
One shoe, Mom.
I got the other.
She went so quick. All right, next is a request of Alex Richardson to do extensive work at 1501 Church Street.
Hey,
Hi.
my name is Herman Alex Richardson. I go by Alex. It's 1501 Church Street, and a church. It's mostly a cosmetic. It looks like a laundry list of things, but it's the front porch, it's the brick, and it's the back or the fence that I put up. Just like what he said earlier, it said to be determined on when I did my fences. So I didn't pick a stain, and I didn't pick a color or anything like for the fence. So I need to do that for the fence. I wasn't sure if I should do it in the laundry list points or go one at a time, or should I just talk about everything, or what's the plan?
Yeah, run through
Yeah.
each one if you don't
All right,
mind.
so the front porch originally was black and white, so it was approved where I can either do it all black, black and white, white and black, because that's what it originally was painted. It was painted all black with white balusters.
When you say originally,
The-
when you bought it or
Yeah,
originally?
well, no.
That's two different.
Okay,
Just
so
wanted to
what I
understand.
got changed.
Okay.
So what I approved to change the front deck or the front patio, I changed the balusters and everything. So I haven't put the balusters up yet on that. But I did an extension with the steps, and I had to replace the steps because they were falling down. But everything was painted black with white balusters originally. So that was what was, I could either duplicate that and keep it as is, or I could paint it white or keep it black. So that's the deck that's on the back, on the bottom picture. Whatever you guys give me approval for that, I'll do. But the front, when I started looking at repairing the ceiling of the porch, what I'd like to do on that is make that a natural wood color. So then that started me thinking, well, I haven't done the deck yet in terms of doing it, so maybe I can keep the deck a natural wood color as well. So then that would add to it for that. So that was what I kind of want to do for the decks. Don't look at, that was just the color. I was just picking colors for you guys so you can see it.
Okay, shall we look at these one by one, I think?
Easiest, yeah.
Okay, let's start with the stain on the front and the back. And the painting of the balusters black.
So you say stain the front, but, so you're talking about the walking surface, natural?
Well, the walking surface, the walking surface is actually Trek decking already that was approved.
Okay.
So I was just going to paint or stain everything that's wood right now, a natural wood color. And then the pickets of the balusters, I was going to do black. So it kind of has look like it's a metal, but I know it's all wood.
I think in the vocabulary of the house, it would be better if it were all painted as opposed to stained, just aesthetically.
Okay.
The stained natural is a little more suburban.
Okay.
So I think if you could go towards the paint, it would be more appropriate.
Okay. The reason I was thinking about that was just because if I saw some with black accents, that was the idea. So it'd be stained with black accents as opposed to just stain all. Because if the brick, over the years, the various owners have repaired various parts of the brick. Aesthetically speaking, the brick is it's not uniformed at all. So I wanted to make something permeable, so that's why I wanted this next point. But I wanted to do a lime wash on the brick, which creates that white look with the gray that I was approved for the back. So then the color of the house would change. So the color of the house would go from a colonial-looking brick with everything to whitewash as opposed to that. So I thought that the stained ceiling and the stained front brick would look good.
If you want to go to the next item,
Yeah.
painting the brick is a big no.
Highly frowned upon.
Yes, the guidelines want the brick to stay the brick, and quite honestly, the brick is a very porous material. It breathes big time.
Isn't that lime washing it, doesn't that give it permeable? That's one of the reasons I want to do a natural looking lime wash as opposed to painting.
Lime wash is more porous and lets it breathe. That is a true statement, but it's really changing it from, a red brick to a white house.
Mhm.
Like you say, it brings it from one thing to another. And the guidelines are pretty clear on painting brick is typically not approved. And I think the patina that you have with the various patches over time, I think it's wonderful. If I were you, I would not look at that
Okay.
as a negative. That's a very positive
Gotcha.
in the historic world.
Okay.
It lets the house tell its story over
Okay.
time.
I think it looks so
Yeah.
cute too, because that's the first thing you see before you get on 501.
I agree, that's
It's
why I'm
just
trying
so
to- yeah,
sweet.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
cute little.
Yeah.
You're very prominent
So, well,
location.
I'm trying to make it happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess, so from that standpoint, if you could live with not painting the brick and living with the wonderful patina that you have, then I think the stained wood is not, it's not in keeping with the wonderful house that it is. I think the dark to match into the black shingles, the black shutters and the black roof would be very appropriate from that standpoint.
Okay.
I think it looked really nice
Yeah.
in that, if you go in that direction.
Okay. And then what about the back patio, the back porch? Basically what I'm gonna be doing is going white on the,
Yeah, the back with the wood addition, I think you could go either black or white in my.
all right, so keep it as we originally did it on that part, okay. All right. And then the only thing in terms of there was a mailbox affixed to the deck itself, and that's where they were bringing mail in. So the idea, so right now I don't have a mailbox in there, so he kind of rests it on the steps. So I put it there, so I was gonna put a mailbox on the bottom. I wasn't sure if that was doable, I didn't really look at the guidelines, so I was gonna put a mailbox in, I didn't wanna do that in terms of doing that. And then the second aspect, I put the little landscape, because there's the way the hill drops off in the front of the house, I took a picture of that lime wash, because they just did that. That was a brick house down there. So that's why I got the idea. That's the only reason, that's where I got the idea. I was like, that's sexy, I think that would be good. But going back to that, we'll pass that down. So the walkway to get in front of the step area of the front of the house has that drop off. And I'm gonna be landscaping the front of that hill with 2 trees and some landscapes. But I wanna put in 3 walking paths just to get in front of the steps to go from the side of the house to the side of the house, so you don't have to walk down the hill. And I'd like to put a 2 paver wall, just to make it in front, with landscape in front of that. It's not a major retention wall, but I learned from Victoria last year, don't do anything with walls at all until I speak to you guys. So that's what I wanted to see about doing that as well.
So the pavers you said you want to put down at the sidewalk?
Well,
At the
it's-
bottom of the hill? Or
No, not at the bottom of the hill, right
Top of the
in
hill.
front of the 2 first columns.
Okay.
The 2 columns are on the top of the hill.
Okay,
Which
gotcha.
means for you to walk in front of those 2 columns, you can't. So I want to extend it out about 2 feet in front of that, which brings up a little retaining wall, landscape retaining wall
Sorry,
right
I
there.
just missed that part of it. So.
So that retaining wall would be on the front of that.
Okay.
And it would be a more landscaping feature than it would be a retaining wall feature, because it's going to be all bushes and shrubs there.
Could you slip back to that wall material?
And it wouldn't even be that, I think it's only going to actually be 2 brick eye.
To,
Yeah.
do those come in a range of colors?
They do.
I think if.
You do have stone, the house itself has stone, and because of the whole bottom part was the original part of the house, so I can do it with the stone. Now, there was, because I even recreated part of the stone wall in the back, because of all the original stones that were there. So I do have original stone I can use instead of landscaping pavers. I can do that
Oh,
too.
incredible.
I'm good with that too. Yeah, so I have that in the back, those in the back, that I can literally do that. I thought that would even be more prominent as a
Yeah.
wall if I did it out of stone as opposed to the landscape.
Well, I think it would blend, it would
Yeah,
tie it
okay.
together.
Really
Look
pretty.
great.
Okay, good. All right.
Could you go to the list? Make a motion, I will.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna do a giant one, I think.
We haven't, before you do that, we haven't talked about the blue ceiling,
Okay,
and that is very traditional.
it is. I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
A robin egg blue
Yeah.
is the quintessential southern ceiling. on
it's
the board.
supposed to keep wasps, but that thing's full of wasps. So I don't know, everyone says they think it's the sky. I've heard that from the beginning on that.
Well, they
The
don't
ceiling
care.
itself is rotten, so I've got to rip that out and replace it. So in terms of doing that, I was gonna do tongue and groove, and I was just gonna stain it, so that way I was gonna keep it that way. I don't have any problems painting it blue. You know, that was just where if I was gonna do it,
Yeah.
this was my laundry list of things that I'm
Might
putting
as well
in.
include it.
Any,
in regards to
any light, blue is
Yeah.
what's typically seen, but any light color up there will help that, and I don't think it's gonna be particularly heinous but painted as opposed to stained.
Stain, okay, all right.
All right, so the list, all right, Eve, keep me on track here. I move to approve as submitted with the following notations, that item 1, the balusters and accent elements of the porch be black, that the porch ceiling be painted blue or some appropriate light color, that the fence can be stained. Is that true? A yard fence could be stained. Well, that the mailbox be approved, that the accent wall along the front be built out of your natural stone already on site, and that the lime wash brick not be approved.
Got it. Cool. That's why I waited.
I'll second that.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Oh, okay. Any questions, discussion?
I just have one little question. When, on number 1, when you did I think you said paint balusters and accent black, but
Yeah, number 1 was, go ahead.
Basically everything,
black.
black.
Okay.
Well, I can do white as well, correct?
We said
On the front.
the front be black, the back could be black or white.
Okay, so the front can't be all white either, it has to be black? I'm asking that question to match the,
It was your
I
recommendation.
think the recommendation, it would
Okay.
really look well with the front of the house.
Okay.
And because the
and that could be
back-
stained black, correct? With the wood, or does that have to be painted to the point where it looks like a?
No, well, my understanding is you can use stain, there are stains that look like paint.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
all right.
to go with the natural wood, it would be a semi-transparent or opaque.
Okay.
Yes,
I'll follow up with that.
Yeah,
But,
I'll-
all right, so the front one, and I'm most likely going to do them both the same then.
Yeah.
So the front and back one are going to be stained all black. Any exposed wood would be stained black.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Did you get all that, Eve?
I think so.
And I just have one question. So did you say you were gonna rebuild the, like, outside of the front of the porch, or just the roof, just the inside ceiling?
Anything I'm rebuilding is going to look identical to what it is in
And
terms
that,
of the white
that
wrap.
part is black as well, or is that part white?
It's
It's
currently
currently
white.
white.
It's
Does
currently
that need
white.
to be painted black, or is that staying white?
If I tie that in, I can tie it in as black because the shutters would be black, but, you know, so if it can be that way, then I would do
Which?
that. She's talking about the
Which
front.
parts?
The top of
The soffit
the,
itself, I
Yeah.
think, would stay white, painted
Stay
white.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you.
All right,
Good
good
work.
work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's looking good.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's
for your
really
work.
nice.
Okay, the next item is an after-the-fact request of Karen Bucklew on behalf of Virginia University of Lynchburg to pave a parking lot and install a guardrail and lighting at 2057 Garfield Avenue.
And before we even jump in, I need to recuse myself on this one because I'm doing some work for
For the Virginia University.
immediately adjacent to this.
Okay, all right,
With it.
all right. Assume you're Ms. Bucklew?
Yes, I'm Karen
Okay.
Bucklew.
If you would explain to us.
So between the buildings Caishlan and Graham, the white ceiling or the white roof that you see there on the picture in the rectangle, that's Caishlan. Graham is the smaller building, yes, right there. There has been parking going on. It looks like gravel had been put in at some point. We want to put an asphalt parking lot in there to bring it up to a more appealing look for a commercial property with parking spaces, including ADA spaces, so with van accessibility. The long-term plan, we will have connecting sidewalks from that parking lot for any person in a wheelchair. So this is for student or staff. The guardrail is just a preventative from anyone backing down that hill. It's quite steep. And the lighting is something that when we're working on our site plan down below, the police department suggested that we put plenty of lighting up on the property because right now it's very dark at night and it is hard for them to patrol the area. So we did request lighting in front of the parking spots and lighting behind the guardrail, so that whole lot would be lit. And my understanding is they're like 20-foot high parking lot lighting on black posts. So you have a base with a post going up and an overhead lighting, all LED. So just to light it up.
Okay,
I
questions,
thought it was too.
comments? Is the guardrail already up?
It is up. The paving is not done.
Yeah.
It's just prepped for whatever we can do in that space. We're aware that asphalt is a big no-no. Looking
it's
at
the-
other. Mhm.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, looking at other college properties, I see all asphalt, so keeping in that.
I was curious if your contractor gave you any alternatives or any
No,
suggestions or?
he has not. River Rock was mentioned by Ben. We did have a meeting. I'm not really sure what River Rock is.
It's a larger stone. Usually it's more round than where gravel's kind of coarse, if you will.
I see that as the liability on the College of Turned Ankles. That's what radiates in my
You
head
can
when
go
I
with
hear
pea
that.
gravel if that suits you better. But that's also acceptable, as is aggregate. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have any pictures of your proposed posts, light posts?
I don't have pictures of those.
So I can only speak for myself, but it's
Yeah.
hard for me to approve when I don't
Can't
know
see
what
them.
I'm approving, other than a black pole.
Yeah.
And likewise, if you're not asking for an alternative to asphalt, it's hard for me to approve when I don't know what you're asking for.
So there's a zoning component to this too. So she is currently going for rezoning for their property and a number of others. And by the ordinance, if she does a paved parking spot, if she does a parking lot, if there's more than 10 spaces there, by ordinance, it has to be asphalt paved.
Oh.
So there's that component too.
Unless the city planner.
Yeah,
grants
but
an
the
exception.
stipulations that he has to use, I don't believe, he'd have to really, really bend it to make it conform to the historical guidelines.
I didn't
don't
hear
know if
what
that's
you
here.
said, Eve.
The city planner can, based on a certain set of criteria, if it applies, he can grant is it an exception or a waiver?
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
that, but they would have to meet a certain set of requirements that I don't think.
And is that 10 spaces in that location?
Yeah, if there's 10 or more, and based on the site being about 6,000-ish square feet, I imagine there's.
There might be more than
More
10.
than 10 spaces. So this may be a one-off for this particular board.
Do we know, I assume city code or code would trump anything we do.
Right, I would think so.
And if I can jump in, I'm working with them on, they're looking to rezone. They've got about a dozen pieces of property spread all around this
Yeah.
central piece, and they are pretty much mostly residential zoned. And the university is going for the IN-1, institutional-1 rezoning designation. That's winding its way, I think, I think, in front of Planning Commission next month and then subsequently council the following. So they'll.
Does that make more things historic district then, or less, or am I following you?
No, the only the
Doesn't affect
central
the
part is historic district.
I
The
think there's
two,
more than that.
is it just the,
Here, let's pull it up.
yeah. But they're not asking to expand, including more buildings in the historic district. It's just that it would be an institutional district in and of itself as a small college campus, as opposed to these rambling pieces of residential
Yeah.
spread all out.
So all these light green areas
Yeah.
are local historic district.
Right.
So all work in these areas has to be approved by the commission or myself before anything is done.
And that's regardless of the zoning?
Regardless of the zoning.
Yeah.
So what were you about to say in terms of, because we were asking sort of, would that trump us? And you're saying not necessarily. Where does that sort of put us in terms of the over 10 spaces asphalt situation?
I mean, typically petitions, like the previous one on Rivermont for a parking lot, they came to us before they moved forward in their rezoning application. So yes, we work hand in hand, but also your decision can be separate in that instance. Also, like to state this is after the fact, and this is a discussion that should be had before work takes place.
And the other thing, abstaining, but question, the porous level of it, would the 6,000 square feet trigger a TRC review?
I think you're out of order. Really, I'm a Robert's Rules person,
Okay.
and if you recuse, I don't know, but,
I think it's a pertinent question that
yeah.
plays
but-
into, if
but I
nobody's going to
do-
ask it,
yeah,
I'll quiet.
I'm very uncomfortable.
Okay.
So-
I'm happy to ask the
Yeah, you
question.
can ask
Is
it,
there
but-
some other rules around governance when you have a lot that size and drainage, or?
Yeah, there are. So they've got an existing site plan for, can you show them where the new building is going to go?
Yeah.
They've got an existing site plan for an area out there already, and they're going to amend that site plan to include that parking lot to take care of some stormwater management requirements. So they're in the motion right now. They've got an engineer. I'm talking to him tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on site. It's not going to go before TRC. I don't remember why it's not going before TRC, but that's okay. We don't want that anyway.
But you want the buildings or?
Just where they are related to the historical district parking lot area, just so they can see. It's on the zoning and natural resources side, this is all going to be tied into one project.
If it were to be paved, does that trigger other requirements for drainage and that
So
sort of thing?
what happens when they talk about stormwater management calculations is they go based on how much impervious cover there is, and there's runoff ratings and stuff like that, velocity calculations and all that these engineers are going to have to do. So it wouldn't affect it. It'll affect the outcome of the stormwater management calculations, but the fact that it's paved or gravel, we don't care.
They're not going to make them put a settling pond or something because you got
Well,
to,
yeah, they're gonna have to do a BMP out there somewhere, but it's not gonna be in the historic district's purview. It's gonna be near those other buildings likely. So the runoff is gonna be directed down.
So these
Down
are
in that field.
the
Yeah,
proposed.
so they're putting in 4 modular classrooms right now because they're renovating, is my understanding. Okay. And so they're gonna, the parking lot, the disturbance done around the buildings, and the concrete driveway going into the buildings, that's all gonna be tied into this site plan.
I can only speak for myself, right? I got to be honest, in this instance, I don't have a lot of heartburn on the asphalt. It's an institution, it's not a home or a residence. It doesn't mean that it adheres to the guidelines, but versus a gravel lot or a pea gravel lot,
Or it could be concrete, right?
Right.
could be concrete, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Concrete would be better for anybody in a wheelchair, if you're pushing or moving yourself.
Now, Ben, you said it has to be paved, like concrete wouldn't suffice.
I believe it says asphalt.
I did read that too.
Pretty confident it says asphalt. Confident enough to not actually go digging. It says asphalt.
I read it as well.
So where does that put us? Do we vote on the guidelines that say brick, brown pea gravel, concrete exposed aggregate, or concrete tracks? Black top or asphalt driveways are not traditional.
Says they should be discouraged, it doesn't
And
necessarily
discouraged.
that they're never used. So that's,
In my head, I was thinking of other instances, non-residential, where it's used. I know there's a funeral home and a church on Rivermont at the top of the hill. And not to say that that means it's right, but in my head, being the usage that it is, not residential, lots of cars in and out every day, it seems to me like the more appropriate solution. Again, personally, I would like to see the poles before I was to approve those, but I'm not as hung up on the asphalt in this application. But again, that's one of 4 votes, right? Everyone gets their own opinion.
Steve, is there anything in our guidelines about the guardrails, which I think are awful?
Yeah, those don't look appropriate, but I don't know what I've seen in other places that they put up, it's going to stop a car.
Yeah.
I don't think the guardrails are traditionally, like you said, what we see in applications. I'm trying to think.
Even a wrought iron fence or something, that's not going to stop a car.
Well, it would look better.
It'll look a lot better. I don't argue with that.
On that campus, which is very old, that guardrail just jumps at me like, oh.
But are there, is there something equivalent that actually is safe? I feel like it's the same thing when we're looking at the large parking lot. It needs,
Right,
it has to be asphalt for
in my head, I'm
safety and
thinking out of the
traffic,
box, you can put
but-
boulders there, or stone.
Yeah.
Something
Stone
large
wall.
that would stop a car,
Yeah.
but doesn't look like a modern guardrail.
And is the guardrail to stop a car or just to designate?
She said there's a
It's-
steep hill
It's a
there.
very steep, it's a drop off
So
right
it'd
there,
be-
so, dealing with college students and
Right, right.
felt
I
that
got it.
safety should, and that was just
Yeah,
our
actor,
opinion,
sure.
safety should trump aesthetics at this time.
You
I
can
have
have
we could go-
both.
Yeah, we
You
could pivot to
can have-
location if
If
that's
we
the
have,
issue, but.
if we have an alternative that is in print, then I would want to see what our alternative is.
I'm trying to think. There was that application maybe a couple of years ago where they were doing work to their parking area and they wanted to install something because of the steep slope. Do you
Yeah, on
remember
Rivermont Avenue.
Yeah, do you remember what they used?
But
It wasn't a guardrail.
No.
I feel like that we're in an interesting position because we're talking about mainly homes and things, but yet in this case, to her point, college students, traffic, safety. Now, I'm not saying maybe there aren't other options, but I feel like as a college, they would also fall under some kind of regulation for what is safe for large amounts of people in certain spaces.
Do we have those, we don't have those regulations if they exist before us, so I don't know how we can.
It probably does say there has to be some sort of barrier if there's X drop or what have you, but I think there's just other options than the guardrail.
We did approve something on Rivermont Avenue in the 3000 block. I can see the house, customer that went right off the land next door.
I mean, if we did, if we
Yeah.
discussed, I think the boulders could be an interesting idea, and then what about a fence behind that so no one stumbles? I mean, the boulders would prevent a car, but then, foot traffic, so what about like an appropriate fence behind that?
Jenna, was that a wooden one like you'd see along the Blue Ridge Parkway that's sturdy enough for a car stopping?
That was what they were putting it in for, to stop a car, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't have the specifics, but I know I've seen those along.
The parkway.
Do either of you know what body or governing body determines the safety type things, sort of like the paved parking lot, like who is determining?
Referencing the guardrail, it's likely their insurance that played a part in that, which is another reason why they did a sidewalk down instead of some stairs and some other stuff. And they're also required to meet certain conditions regarding safety through their grant, but I think that's just like baseline OSHA stuff.
It is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
The
an
federal
insurance
grant
requirement.
had some defining safety and ADA compliance in the federal grant.
So I think a guardrail was the reasoning behind it.
It was.
But it doesn't have to be this guardrail.
I think this guardrail is specifically manufactured to stop vehicles, because VDOT uses them everywhere, and they all look the same to me.
And we did have that discussion whether wood would work, but then the VDOT conversation did come in when the construction.
Aren't the posts wood on this?
The posts are wood on this. He did that as a compromise to try to satisfy the aesthetics of the area, so.
So are you saying that VDOT and your insurance said that the guardrail was the only option?
They didn't say that was the only option.
Okay.
That is their preferred. The guardrail is preferred.
I only use
To
VDOT as an
stop
example,
vehicles,
because
yeah.
that's how they construct them on the
Yes.
highway. And
Okay.
they do use wooden 6x6s on the highway,
Right.
so.
Right.
Yeah. You have to have some give so that a person doesn't get critically injured,
Yeah, they're meant
so.
to bend, and they've
Accordion.
got tie-in buckles on where the straight parts meet that have about that much of a free slot, and they almost slide. So there's, enough of a bump there.
So obviously there are other parking lots on campus
Yes.
that are paved. So could you tell me about, or someone, how does that, where is like, how does that happen versus now we're discussing this one?
Probably before it was historic, had historic
Before.
zoning.
Yeah, because this hasn't always been installed properly, but I can't really speak. I'm new to the university as of December, so
Okay.
anything that
That's
I've
usually
heard
the
before then I
case though,
can't.
whether you see vinyl or asphalt shingles or whatever, most of it was done before, most, not all.
And same like with Randolph, with all of their.
I presume, and since it's already paved, they can ask
It was paved long
to,
before it was a historic
Historic.
district.
yeah.
Yeah. So, like maybe 100 years.
Yeah, okay.
I can't recall what kind of guardrail system they have over there. With their campus, they have to
Hills.
have
They
them
have
with
lots
those
of hills.
hills, yeah.
I didn't think to even look.
I think, it seems to me like the guardrail conversation, maybe we could table until we have some alternatives that work for both their guidelines that they had to follow and what we're interpreting. That would just be my
I would be
suggestion.
good with that.
So what was, just to clarify, if the asphalt was not approved, what was the consequence of that? Of it not, like zoning wise, not being asphalt?
Then they're in violation of the ordinance, and then we take them to court and go, hey, you have to pave this.
Okay, so it's
But you can't pave it with concrete. I don't understand.
I'm 99.9% sure that it says asphalt.
Because of the size, right, the
Okay.
footprint?
Yeah, because of the size.
So if I'm understanding correctly, it almost seems like that's just kind of a given at this point, is asphalt.
So at that point, it's,
That's right, if it's a handicap parking spot, isn't it supposed to be at concrete?
It's a good question.
That's what we came up with 2 months ago for the apartments on Rivermont. Because they said specifically they were doing their handicap spots in concrete and the rest
And the
would be
is
asphalt.
Oh, the rest is.
Or gravel, yeah,
Okay,
you're right, I'm sorry, you're right,
Ooh, that would've been weird.
you're right, you're right.
My apologies.
Question about the lights. If the rezoning is achieved, does that affect the lighting situation and change requirements for lighting?
so there are certain standards that all site plans have to follow regarding lighting. But I don't know those off the top of my head, and without knowing what they're proposing, I can't tell you whether it meets the requirements or not.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have a parking lot, you need lighting,
Sure.
right? But
I'm just wondering if it's like, if something's not approved today and regarding the lighting and then it's rezoned, does it affect what we can and can't approve, or?
I don't think it would be the zoning, I think it would be more specifically like a site plan.
Site plan, okay.
And I don't think we have enough information.
Sure.
We
On the
have
lights,
no
yeah.
information about lighting, really.
Right.
So,
I'm gonna wait and see what he says, and then I'll throw something
Yeah.
on the table. Yeah.
I do apologize.
thanks for calling.
But really.
You were absolutely correct, Mrs. Roberts.
So,
Are there other parking areas currently that are not paved?
Yeah, well, there is one down behind Graham. So Graham is the black roof, small building. If you go to the north of that picture, that is it's a crush and run / gravel lot. So it hasn't been like sealed and all of those things.
And
But
what
we don't have a plan.
size-ish space?
Oh, she's got it right there, so there you go.
Oh, so just tiny though,
Yeah,
we're
it's
not talking like
yeah,
100
it's more
spaces.
an area to hold our waste cans.
It's like
and-
overflow or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Wondering if
have
that's gonna be a
park
feature.
our buses there and
See a
things
way
like that.
Put more asphalt down.
So that's actually outside of the historic district.
Gotcha.
So the only reason you're seeing this one is because it's right in the middle.
In the middle of those.
And you guys chose that spot. I'm just playing.
It seemed logical to have it there with streets to each of those buildings.
Eve, is this R3?
Let's see.
Thank you. Probably not ours.
It is currently
Yes.
Is it
R3.
R3?
Hence the rezoning effort.
Yes.
And where is that at? Where are you all at?
We're
Off
off
Campbell
Campbell Avenue.
Oh, no,
Deep
sorry.
in the process.
Oh.
I meant the
Oh.
rezoning, yeah.
saw it going down.
Thank you.
So we have to go before the planning board, and then we would petition and go before the city. So that's where we are.
Okay.
Later this month is the planning meeting.
All right, decisions on whether or not the use of gravel for a larger parking area is appropriate will include but not limited to the following factors: volume of traffic, frequency of use, size and location of the parking area, type of land use requiring the parking, topography and control measures needed for stormwater erosion and dust management.
That's real
So
big.
so
That doesn't,
it can be gravel or can't be? I think I'm.
Parking areas having more than 10 spaces shall be paved or surfaced with impervious material approved by the city planner, subject to review, blah, 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 blah.
oh, so that doesn't say.
well, she's got more than 10 spaces, and it has to be an impervious
Impervious.
Yeah.
material.
What are other impervious materials? Do they exist?
Oh, not more than 10?
The plan shows 2 spots and then 2 van spots.
That's
or
something
loading.
I drew. That is not
Okay.
an official plan.
But it's 6,000
I am not a
square feet.
planner.
Yeah. It's 6,000
It's gotta be
square feet.
exactly like this drawing.
No, I'm not.
And so asphalt's acceptable for handicapped in what you just read?
It does, it's not specific to, I don't have ADA code in front of me.
Okay.
I would assume that it's acceptable because it's a hardened surface with a layer of crush and run underneath it, and it's completely stable, but that's just an assumption.
It can be.
So I make a motion to approve the paving of the parking lot. I would like to hear other ideas for the guardrail, as what's there doesn't meet code. I'm not going to approve it, I'm not going to deny it. I would like to see other options, because I think there are some that would work, but I'm not an expert. And I would like to see an example of the light poles to be used. I assume the spacing is guided by code and that sort of thing. But yeah, and in my mind, a black pole that you would see at the mall is not appropriate.
Right, okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
Abstain.
so.
Wait,
no.
I don't think she
Abstain.
finished. She,
Oh, I said no.
oh, you said no, okay.
Yes, well, I was going to, but I didn't say no.
So you want to vote no?
I'm just, yeah, no on the motion, yeah.
Okay.
Did you vote, Shannon?
Well, I don't think I can vote.
Yes, you can.
You
As
can.
chair, you can vote.
Okay, I would vote no also
So then the
on
motion
the
fails.
asphalt. And hope that concrete would work, which would be less objectionable.
So I would can I make another motion? I would make a motion similar to what you said, but with tweak to investigating different material options for paving besides asphalt. Like, it seems like there's more information that we need
Yeah.
before we can really make a
Is,
good decision.
and I feel like just a looming question is, possibly in like a month, you would be rezoned.
I don't really know
Oh,
how
you
long
don't-
that works.
I see, okay, you would just
Yeah.
go before then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that doesn't impact this area, right? Isn't that what I
Not
heard?
this parking
Still
area.
under the historic district.
Okay.
it
Okay.
still
Yeah.
requires
That won't-
approval
that
from
won't change.
the
I see.
commission. Yeah, the rezoning will not affect the historic district.
So do you send a letter?
So we have to-
Wait,
is
so-
there-
Well,
Wait, we
Yeah,
have
we have a
a
motion on the table.
So your motion is really to table everything.
Yeah, really to table everything and just get more specifics, and then specifically for the paving, are there other alternatives? I think it's really important that we're researching that thoroughly before we're making a decision about that.
Is there a second? Am I allowed to second
No, you can't
it?
second.
Okay. Okay, then.
Well, I'll second it. I mean, sure, I'm not gonna let it fall. It needs to be addressed. And so if we're not gonna come to consensus with what was presented, then I would second the idea to gather more information and bring it back.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Did you vote?
No.
So wait,
I
how did you?
abstain.
She can. So the motion carries.
Yes.
I hope your takeaway is not that we're trying to make this more difficult on you. It really isn't. We're trying to satisfy the guidelines that we're given while still working with you, with the institution on, what's a good solution for this application.
Okay.
And to be aesthetically pleasing
Right.
for a historic
That's right.
property.
But I'll email you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Karen, I'm gonna suggest tomorrow to your engineer to at least look at low grade for like permeable pavement, which
Okay.
might meet some of the.
Old business. An after-the-fact request of Susan Sherwood to replace a railing at 10,003 Rivermont Avenue.
So Susan wasn't able to be here tonight. She did end up submitting additional information, after I had emailed everybody.
It's
Yeah.
wrought iron.
This is the wrong, sorry, the wrong one. There we go. So this is the handrail that she ended up submitting as an alternative to the silver one.
Do the shower.
The bath rail.
With the bathtub.
Did we steer her towards a wrought iron rail? I feel
believe-
like anyway, this is gonna look mixed matched, because she's got a wooden post and a wooden post, and
But
the
she has
front
the
has wrought iron, right.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah,
I think we
we
did,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because the columns are wood and the rest of the porch has wrought iron, so
Yeah.
it's sort of
Okay.
what's already going on.
It would seem that the wood elements that are there, has anything been said about their being painted?
Yeah, she plans on
Yeah.
painting it.
She doesn't
She-
even own it, right?
Yeah.
She's sold the property, but she has committed to
Making it right?
making what the contractor did right before she hands over total. So she didn't want to leave it to the new owners.
It would seem like if the step, go to the next picture, please. If the steps are painted to match the porch and the post is painted to match the post, that the
Right.
black
Brings it a lot
handrail.
closer.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
Yep, and she plans on painting it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm anxious about the length. I don't know if they have to custom
Yeah,
order that.
exactly. I was wondering that. They're gonna have to move the post, or?
I don't know how
It says
that
3
works,
foot.
because that thing is much longer than what the little bathroom
Grab bar?
grab bar is.
I bet she's gonna have to move the post, but.
So
guess
I
that's on her.
would move to approve the wrought iron handrail, that it fits the existing dimensional conditions, and that the remaining wood elements are painted to match existing.
So she already has approval to paint.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So nukes that,
So this is solely for the handrail.
yeah.
Would you repeat that?
Move to approve the submitted handrail working to existing dimensional conditions of the post.
So it needs to fit.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any
So it needs
discussion?
to fit.
Lehman.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
All right, she's good. Okay, now we have to go back to our annual business. And the first item is the election of chair and vice chair.
So did our
So-
current chair give any input or feedback, or? No?
No, he just told me he wasn't, unexpectedly, he was not able to make the meeting.
So I can't, yeah, I've noticed, I know he changed jobs recently, and that's not maybe that's out of scope, but I noticed he's, I guess, had conflicts more than once in the past several months attending. I think you've sat in for him 3 times this year or something.
Yeah. Several. I didn't know he'd changed jobs, so.
I don't know how recent, I know he's not where he was when I started, but that's been a few years. Yeah. Having said that, I nominate Chandra to be our president for the next term.
Do we need a second? I'll
I
second
need-
that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Will do my best, so.
And I'm not slighting our former
Yeah.
president at all. I know we all have lives outside of this meeting, and conflicts arise.
So, all right, we need a new vice chairman.
I'm not going to nominate myself if that's what you say.
I would nominate Michael for vice chair.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 And again, not slighting Chris in any way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. I absolutely hope he stays on.
Oh, my
But-
word, yes.
Yes.
But allowing him the flexibility, a little more flexibility would seem to be a good thing to be. Do we have a new person coming on?
We do not. So unfortunately, the person who was going to apply reflected, and they are very, very involved already in the community, so they're going to wait until they're a little less committed before they apply, which is unfortunate. So we're still on the hunt for someone else. But, yeah,
And it has to be somebody professionally.
that's the tricky part.
Can I ask you a question? So do you know which position I'm filling? Like, is it, because I don't think
So-
mine was professional when I
Nope,
started.
only 2 people need to meet the professional qualification standards, and of those 2 people, 1 needs to be an architect, which we are meeting. 2 people can be architects, but 1 has to be. And then the other, I can pull them up. The other professional qualifications are,
Are you thinking maybe if you're?
Well, I'm pursuing a master's in history, so I don't, it feels like that would be, I don't know if that's allowed, but if we can switch me into that, so that way we can open up a spot for somebody that's not professionally.
so I think you would need to have the degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Win-win.
One more year. I don't think we could go that long.
Yeah, the minimum is a graduate degree in history or a closely related field, or a bachelor's degree in history, plus one of the following, which is 2 full years of research, writing, teaching, interpretation, or other substantial contribution for research and publication to the body, blah, 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 blah. Archaeology, architectural history, architecture, historic architecture, anthropology, that type of thing. Yeah, so you're almost there, but not
Almost
quite.
there.
Yeah.
And they have to live in
In the
Lynchburg City
city.
proper, okay.
Yeah.
So there must be somebody
We gotta
at
find-
Randolph, Lynchburg
Yeah.
College, or even Sweet.
I've been putting some feelers out at Liberty, so I'm trying to see if there's any professors.
Yeah.
Yeah, the few responses that I have received back have been, I would love to, but I'm too busy right now, so. Yeah.
Okay. All right. The next item is a review of our bylaws.
Yep, so just looking at the bylaws, there were a couple of minor things that I thought we should update. It doesn't really change a whole lot, but for example, we do our elections in July instead of June because that's the first meeting that typically everyone's been appointed or reappointed. So that was one suggested update. And then I added 2 regular meetings. I thought, we were meeting in council chamber for a while, which is technically against the bylaws because they said that we meet here. So to give us flexibility, I thought maybe we should add council chamber. And then I think the other thing was, it said only on the 3rd Monday, but I just added some clarification that if there's a holiday, then it's on the 4th Monday. And then just an update to the record of meetings. So state code has actually changed, so now we have to post our meeting minutes on the website I think it was 7 days after they've been approved, they have to be on the website. So just kind of an update to the bylaws that we'll post them to the website. And I think that was really it. That was the only changes that I was proposing to you all, but if you had any other changes, now would be a good time to propose them.
Are there other changes or questions?
With the
about-
meeting on Mondays, unless it's a holiday, does that also state, or if we have to reschedule, like for what happened last time, if we had to reschedule, is that already written in there?
So that is technically a special meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be
So
under
that's,
this.
I just want to make sure that's already covered.
Yes.
Obviously it happened.
Yeah, and with that, we had to give everybody 72 hours, which is why we couldn't have it until the Friday instead of,
I'd move to accept the amended bylaws as presented.
A second.
All right. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, good work, Eve.
And then I'll bring those to the meeting, next time for everybody to sign.
Okay. Advocacies. Did anybody request a change in their district?
Does anyone want to pick up, Pierce Street? Since we're currently vacant.
It's just one property, right? The
No.
Ann Spencer or something else?
There's a couple, let's see. What is the Ann Spencer house address, does anyone know?
No, is the Arthur Ashe tennis courts, maybe that's part of it?
Is
So,
Ann Spencer like 1405 or something?
so this entire area.
Yeah. Sure, I'll take that if we need someone.
I don't think we,
The one that goes all the way through is the tennis court one, is that correct?
this one is, I think that's the Ann Spencer Garden.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it's the next
on wrong side.
block
Yeah,
to
he's
the
on the other
right is the
Yeah,
tennis.
he's across
Tennis
the street.
court is over
Right there,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Mike, you want that?
That's fine.
Still think the United States Tennis Association should jump in any day now.
Right?
All right, you call them up,
Did you
okay?
think 1313 Pierce?
No.
Okay.
I thought it was a 1400 block.
Okay.
It's 1313.
1313.
Okay, good. All right. Is there any other business to?
So I don't know if it's business or I wait till we adjourn, but I did want to discuss the email that was sent, I think last week.
Okay.
But it's not official, so.
Maybe adjourn.
All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That means